for the show.
Okay, we are going live now, Bonnie. Shalom, we welcome you. We're here to share on Yahuwah's name today. Bonnie and I have been looking at Yahuwah's name and in the scriptures. And so we're wanting to share this with you, Bonnie. Let's go ahead and put up a screen, something on the screen to make sure that we're not looking at a black screen right now. I think if one of us is
If
talking,
we've got our cameras on, it's okay.
Perfect. Okay, great. I didn't know exactly how that went, but we do have a black screen phenomena that happens sometimes. So we're trying to figure all that out, and technically challenged as we are, we like to stay in the word. So we're just going to share some from Yahuwah's name, from his word, from different translations. We're going to be hitting the Greek, the Aramaic, even the Hawaiian today, and of course the Hebrew, and maybe some Paleo Hebrew as well. So Bonnie, what are we talking about this morning? What did we start our day, our conversation that we decided?
Well,
public.
We looked at here's me trying to prep for Shabbat tomorrow and reading through the next part of 1 John. And it was just strange to me that the Hallelujah scriptures said Yahuwah is love, but the ISR said Elohim is love. And look, your regular English translations will say God is love. Right. And it's like, and then you came aboard and you said in Aramaic, it's aloha.
Aloha is love.
Yeah, aloha is love. So just wanting to honor where Darla is and the beautiful, culture of Hawaii. And so we started looking at all of them.
Right.
You'll see what we found. You'll see. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be doing Shabbat study and
continuing.
We'll be getting into it. Yeah. But for now, there's just a little bit of an issue about the translation. And anytime, we get an idea about a seed of what is that in the original language or different languages, it's like, and Darla was looking at Greek. We've got Greek to show you too today. And it's like, how do we get there? How do we get there? And what does it really mean?
So we're kind of reverse engineering this a little bit here with this screen, but I just hope, Bonnie, we'll just talk about whatever we pull up and it'll be fine. But this is a Hawaiian translation, and it's parallel. It has the English on one side. No, I'm sorry, it's not parallel. It is all Hebrew or all Hawaiian. So what I can do though is I can come over to Google Translate, and I just put in this first verse of 1 John 4 verse 8. You can see the Hawaiian here of this verse in on the left side, and it detects the language. There's a button on Google Translate where you can just detect the language, and obviously I didn't have to put in too many characters, and I can come up with a translation. And on the right it says, he who does not love does not know Gimel Dalet, God, because God is love. Well, in the Hawaiian here then, Akua is the name for Elohim. We don't use God, we use the Hebrew, which is Elohim, but the Aramaic is aloha. And so there's a bit of confusion built into this, because aloha here in Hawaiian is the word love. And I was telling Bonnie, I didn't really realize that aloha in Hawaiian is love. We don't hear so much of that's a direct translation. But if we use the Hawaiian scriptures here as a bit of a Rosetta Stone, we can see that aloha actually is love. And so that is really beautiful. We've taken a few of the phrases as we wanted to kind of decipher down in the lower part on the left side. You'll see some phrases or a couple of the words out of here as we're trying to decipher. It gets confusing because we know aloha is Elohim in Aramaic, but in the Hawaiian, you hear it even tells us it also means goodbye. It means hello, it means goodbye. It's one of these words that's just really rich in meaning, but It also means love. It is the word that pops out here. You can see where Bonnie has blue arrows under it in the first line and also in the third line. And it means love in both of the on the right side there. Yeah, so aloha means love in Hawaiian. That was new information for me today, and it's such a beautiful word. It's a beautiful word. I love to use aloha for the title of Yahuwah. Yahuwah Aloha, Yahuwah Elohim, but the aloha is the Aramaic version of that. So it's great that we can use Google Translate for any language we have. We can run it over here. I was even sharing this morning I think it was it's definitely Hebrew. It was Munster Hebrew, so that means it's Matthew, right, Bonnie?
It should be, yeah.
Munster is Matthew.
Yeah.
So we have a Hebrew Matthew, and I was sharing, I can bring it down into the description here where you can go and you can read. And if you can speak Hebrew or at least read it, you could bring the characters over because it's just Hebrew. There's no English with it. I think it has Latin. It has Latin and Hebrew. So again, a Rosetta Stone, but you can bring it over here because we do have this great tool that we can use. You can just plug the Hebrew in and find out right where you're at. And it is the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. It was Matthew, what we were looking at this morning over there. Okay, what's our next slide there, Bonnie?
Oop.
All right, so this is the Messianic Aleph Tav interlinear scriptures. We do have a screenshot of the front of this, but I have it right here, so I'll just share it with you. There are 5 of these, and this is my favorite, by the way. This is my favorite translation because in the Tanakh or the Old Testament, it has three versions of it, three volumes. And it has the Aramaic and it has not the Aramaic, it has the Paleo Hebrew and Hebrew. But this one here that Bonnie's got up here, the Gospels, and I'm looking at Acts to Revelation here. This one has Aramaic and the Greek. So what I don't care for this one is called the Red Letter Edition. What I don't care for this one is if you're going to get this one, get the hard version because this one can just be a noodle, and 5 volumes of a noodle. It's rough to sit on your bookshelf. So I always recommend to get the hard copy of this, but it is my favorite. You did get to see, did we share yet a page of this? I think we did. The first John 4 verses 8. And you can see here, it says, aloha is love. Yeah, and this one you have in this one the Aramaic and then the Greek, and it says for aloha is love. This book is particularly designed a little bit different because though the Hebrew and the Aramaic go from right to left, yet the way he organized it so he could write the English sentence in the correct sort of flow is these words are backwards. For instance, the word that is highlighted there, da aloha, that word, the next word that normally should come after that is to the right of it, not to the left. So
can you see my mouse, Darla?
Yes, I do.
I do. You can. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Funny that word looks like huba. And that is the word there for love. Yeah. Which is that looks like a chet, not a hey.
It does, right? Doesn't it? Hang on.
Yeah,
it's got a dot under it. Yeah, it's a het.
So in Hebrew, we would expect to see a haba for love. And this one is with a chet instead of a hey. So, but that is the word for love in Aramaic. They are different languages, although the characters look the same. And actually, William Sanford, who published this translation, has quite a bit to say about the Aramaic. We are going to share it. I'm not sure what screen's coming up next, but if it comes up, we're gonna read that because we want to know what he said as the publisher. That was it, Bonnie. There we go.
Okay.
So his perspective is, as you can see there on at the last line of the first paragraph, is that the Paleo Hebrew is the perfect and divine. And
Wow.
yeah, this being, it's called a red letter translation bit, and that's because the Aleph and Taw, you can see in the very first line, he's made everywhere the Aleph and Taw appear, they are in red letters. So it's not red letters as in the King James where every line that Jesus spoke is in red. It's not like that. The red is everywhere the Aleph Taw is spoke. And you might think that with a Greek Greco-Roman mindset, the Alpha and the Omega, everywhere the Alpha and Omega is spoken would be red. If that's what, I think he may do that in the Greek here. But he definitely does it in the Paleo. Yes, it is. No, that's Aramaic. Just looking to see if his Greek, no, the Greek is not going to show the Alpha and Omega red. But yes, we have here the perfect and divine biblical Paleo Hebrew. And he says just above that, it says, what was actually used in Aramaic, in my humble opinion, was a poor substitute for father's memorial name as Mar Yah. So in the Aramaic, we're going to see, instead of Yahuwah in the Aramaic, we're going to see Mar Yah, meaning Master Yah. So he's saying that's a poor substitute. But that the perfect and divine is going to be found in the biblical Paleo Hebrew. And so, Bonnie, you want to read the next paragraph?
Sure. The answer as to why these omissions and substitutes could be very simple and quite profound. Aramaic is simply a step away from that which was already perfect and divine, and it was created and given to the house of Israel and eventually to the house of Judah for this reason, and also as chastisement from Yahuwah when they were cast out of the land and scattered to the nations as a more common and less offensive language to be used by them and among Gentiles. Aramaic would further also help the Jews prevent the blaspheming the sacred symbols, Aleph Tau, and Father's sacred name, which the mention of his memorial name was a capital offence punishable by death. Again, in my humble opinion, these would seem to be primary and logical reasons to consider as to why Aramaic would have come into existence and why it gained in popularity over the divine Paleo Hebrew. And finally, by Aramaic's creation, the Tanakh, the Old Testament, would be sealed for all eternity with the divine heavenly Paleo Hebrew script as a testament against the two houses for their sins. I got goosebumps reading that last bit.
Wow, right? The fact that this language was created as a chastisement for their sin. And a language that's less offensive to be used among the Gentiles.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says it is common knowledge that there is a small percentage of biblical Paleo Hebrew words that did transfer over into Aramaic, but these words make up an extreme minority compared to the abundance of new words created in Aramaic. There is no doubt that even the Aleph Taw is incorporated into many Aramaic words that resonate with quite possibly divine purpose, as the reader is welcome to explore in this edition. It is a matter of history that over time, Hebrew eventually died out, but towards the end of the 19th century in Europe, a Jew named Eleazar ben Yehuda is credited for taking the first steps to resurrect the ancient language into the spoken language today called modern Hebrew. I must admit that the resurrection of this language is nothing short of miraculous, but modern Hebrew is not the language Moses used to pen the Torah, or that the prophets used throughout the Tanakh. In fact, I personally believe that the whole reason modern Hebrew has been resurrected was to eventually fulfill the prophecy by Zephaniah 3:9, by working backward to ultimately restore the pure divine language of biblical Paleo Hebrew. So he has a very high understanding of the value of Paleo Hebrew.
Yeah, very much. I've just had to say hi to Robert and Marie over in live chat. Thanks for
Hey,
joining
Robert
us.
and Marie, thanks for joining us. And Sherry, thanks for joining us here in the Zoom room.
Yes. Yep.
Hi, I just saw you guys were on.
Hey, we're glad.
Yeah.
to see you.
Jump on and join you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Been
welcome.
having an interesting discussion this morning about translations
Hallelujah.
in
We're gonna have
relation to
Zephaniah 3:9 real quick too.
yeah. Just in relation to this whole God is love idea. Yah is love. Or is it Elohim is love? Or is it Aloha is love? Or was it Kiua? Who is it?
Right, and we just found out, Sherry, that aloha is love in Hawaiian. So there's that.
Oh, how about that?
The Hawaiian Bible, exactly.
Hang on.
Wow.
I'll just to recap, I'll go back to here. Here you
Okay.
go. Oop, except I've got it really, really big now. There you go. That's where we started. Darla had the Hawaiian language, and we worked it out that aloha is all sorts of things. It's everything.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And they
And then
have,
we've gone to the
Isn't
matters,
that
and we just
fascinating? That's really fascinating.
so we've just gone into the matters just to have a look at the language, and we're having a look now at Zephaniah 3:9. So what does it say, Darla?
It's
He's
amazing
talking-
how his name pops up everywhere, all over
Yeah.
the world, in every language, in the
Mhm.
oddest places.
Yeah.
yeah, it is awesome. I mean, it
Yes,
was
it is.
to me, Sherry, to find out that in Hawaiian, using the Hawaiian Bible as a Rosetta Stone, that in Hawaiian, aloha is love there. That's
That
the
is
word.
beautiful.
It's not
That's
his name,
beautiful.
it's not his title. It is, which
Love.
it is in Aramaic, but in Hawaiian, aloha equals love. It is the word for love. It also is goodbye. It's hello.
Hello, goodbye. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Deep word.
Beautiful.
When you think about Yahuwah, he has to love people enough to let them go too, that he gives them a choice. And so sometimes his love is a goodbye if they choose it, if that's their choice. And it's
Well, that's
always
true love.
if they will come back.
Yep, that's true love. You can't love somebody if you're not willing to let them go, make their own decisions. And if you get them back, that's wonderful. If you don't, you don't. That's true love. A gift of choice. Yeah.
In the live chat, Robert has written, is love and filled with the Holy Spirit, and love is all they feel from them. Quite profound, actually. Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the word aloha, and we use it all the time in Hawaii. So it's very wonderful for me to think about Yahuwah aloha. And then now I have an understanding even deeper of that in Hawaiian, that is love. Yahuwah is love. What was the word, Bonnie, in the Hebrew for, well, that was Elohim. Was it Akua? Was that the word?
Akua, yeah.
Akua is Elohim. But I didn't share this one, but they have Jehovah. So this tells me in, I go over to Genesis 2 verse 4, where is the first place Yahuwah's name shows up. So again, using a Rosetta Stone between your translations, all you have to do, grab a Google Translate, no matter what it is, and you can put in those characters. You can grab a keyboard there and you can put in the characters. We know what the Greek is, how it translates over from the Hebrew, from the Septuagint, and also in the Hawaiian. When the missionaries came to Hawaii, the Hawaiians didn't have a written language. They may have had some signs and that sort of thing, but the missionaries they gave written word to the sounds that they were making as they learned the language. And so in the Hawaiian Bible, in Genesis 2 verse 4, it says Jehovah, I-E-H-O-V-A.
Oh.
It says Jehovah. And so that tells us that those missionaries were teaching the name Jehovah.
Yep, they knew the name.
Yeah.
Knew
That's
the
what
name. Hallelujah.
Not a title.
Yeah, they were using his name Jehovah in the 1800s when this translation came out. And so back to what William Sanford is writing here in this forward, of the Messianic Altav interlinear scriptures, he's talking about fulfilling the prophecy of Zephaniah 3:9. It is about language. And it says, and I'm reading out of the Hallelujah scriptures, for then I shall turn unto the peoples a clean lip, so that they all call on the name of Yahuwah to serve him with one shoulder. So this is a prophecy. It has not been fulfilled. We do not, as a whole, call on the name of Yahuwah. We have not had the language returned to us. So therefore, we still have unclean lips. That's just a meditation on that verse right there. Okay, so we'll go on. Modern Hebrew cannot be exclusively the fulfillment of Zephaniah's prophecy, for it only stands to reason that at the time he was given the prophecy, the language he was using to write with was biblical Paleo-Hebrew, and it had not yet died out or been replaced. So there was no way it needed to be restored, since he was using the pure language to write the prophecy. Consequently, his prophecy was twofold, inadvertently predicting the demise of the divine language he was using at the time when he recorded the prophecy, declaring the return of the pure language to the covenant people. And secondly, since modern Hebrew did not even exist during Zephaniah's day, it is impossible the prophecy could have been speaking about it being resurrected. And thus, modern Hebrew cannot be the complete fulfillment of Zephaniah's prophecy. Bonnie, you want to read the other one?
Yeah, sure. In closing, let me simply say there is no doubt in my mind that Aramaic is a more common language, lacking from the perfect and divine biblical Paleo-Hebrew or Phoenician script used to write the Tanakh, but it is far superior to the Greek and opens up a new door of opportunity to explore for many Westerners, and is the reason I and my colleagues have endeavored to create this unique masterpiece, rendition and comparison of the Aramaic Peshitta and the Greek New Testament. Wow. So he signs it off in his continued service, William H. Sanford.
Yeah.
Whew.
So
So yes, he holds the paleo in high esteem, that tells me.
yeah, highest
Yes.
esteem.
Yes.
What we have in Hebrew translations now, they would call the modern Hebrew, by the way.
Mm.
And yet the name of Yahuwah in the Dead Sea
Do you
Scrolls.
want me to pull up Eric Bissell's array, because that'll show
Sure.
the different languages. Keep talking. I'll go find it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's holding the Paleo Hebrew in very high regard. And Eric Bissell teaches Paleo Hebrew. If you haven't studied Paleo Hebrew with Eric Bissell, I highly encourage it. And I also tell people, use that pause button, because everything he says is so profound. I was talking with him the other day on the phone, he and his wife, and he starts rattling off on something. And I'm like, you should never be allowed to talk unless you're being recorded, because everything he says is so profound. It's like,
I know
miss
it.
the opportunity.
And you talk so fast.
Yeah.
You have to have that pause button for Eric.
Hit that
Okay,
pause button.
here we go.
Learn to write the letters. There's the Paleo Hebrew font on the right. This is an Eric Bissell version of the Paleo Hebrew, which is the one I learned, and I love it. William Sanford does not use his font. I think I spoke with him one time, and I think it's a little bit about the geography that each of Eric's letters take up, that he felt that it was not the best choice for the Messianic Aleph Tav interlinear scriptures, even though I protested. But anyway, we love Eric's font. And at the same time, we can also still read the Paleo Hebrew that William Sanford uses in the first three editions here with the Tanakh, the Gospels, the writings, the prophecies. And then Bonnie, we're looking at obviously you've got the Greek down here.
Greek's down there. Yep, down here.
You've got the modern there, the one that looks like it's got a fire as a background.
Oh, yep, that's the modern. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one down is a cursive script, which I think may even also be Aramaic, or Aramaic's very close to that anyway. The Aramaic looks very close. It could be the very same font, actually. They would use the same font. But in the Aramaic, the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, in Messianic Olive Tav interlinear scriptures, it is the cursive font there. I'll let you know that. And then the next font down, still Hebrew, is a very ancient Hebrew, very, very ancient. You can imagine children coming up with such a code, maybe. It's the first letter being like an ox head over there on the right side. And the next letter being like a house or a tent, and so on and so forth. You can kind of compare that line with the top line, which is the Paleo, Eric Bissell's version of the Paleo. And then he has, just below that, he has pictures, like very childlike pictures of the ox head, for instance, on the olive, and like a tent folded on itself is the bet, and the next one's a gimel, it's a camel. The dalet is a door. You can see like a three-sided doorway there. And then hay is generally like revelation. I'm not sure what the arrow has to do with that, but I haven't heard that.
Behold, look here, isn't it?
Yeah, look here. There we go. Look here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's lovely. Like there's a clue. And then the wa there is a man. The drawing there is a man, but it's like a nail. We've got the nail there. It's a nail or a peg, something that affixes two things together. And then the Zion is a tool or a weapon, and the Chet is generally a fence. It protects either those on the inside from those on the outside, or vice versa. So you could have a prison or you could have a palace with a moat around it, right? Those are Chet concepts. And then your Tet is a full basket, and your Yod is the hand that works, and the Kaf is an open hand, but it's like a filter. If you could think of like pouring sand with your hand out, some of that sand's going to sit on your fingers and the rest of it is going to fall through. And so that's like a Kaf is an open hand, is a filter. Your Lamed is authority, it's a teaching. And then Mem is water. It's also can be chaos. It also can be like a factory where something is created. A womb is concept, a Mem concept, a womb. And there's waters in the womb, of course. And then the Noon is like perpetuation, like seed, fish. There's a perpetuation of generations concept going on there with the Noon. The Samach is a proper support. And then the Ayin is to see, to understand, to seek askance, to ask about something. And the Pei is a mouth, like an open mouth. And then your Zadi is like a trap, right? A hook, like a fish hook. And then your Kuf is like the back of the head. And it's also Kadosh, Kadesh. The things that come from heaven are Kadosh. They have not been tainted by man. Man cannot go up and hurt the moon or the sun. They are Kadosh. They are set there by Yahuwah for his purposes. Man can't taint them. And then the Resh is the renewed man. It also stands for poor, interestingly. And that reminds me, if I could find it here, is it in this one? I think it is. I was looking today as we started this conversation. I was looking through, I don't know if I'm going to find it or not. I was looking through this Messianic Olive Tav interlinear scriptures. Maybe it's on page 1. I don't know. I had written down this Hungarian saying, and it said, I think it said, we are poor, but I'll mess it up. Let me see if I can find it. It was so cute that I found it. I'd written it down. Let me see. Here it is. Hungarian saying, we're poor, but we live very well. So I don't know. I guess that's a Resh concept as well. We're poor, but we live very well.
Got two to go.
The sheen, of course, is like it's purity in its teeth, and anything is consumed that's not pure. So this is a very pure sort of letter. It doesn't take any. There's not a lot of like grace there. It's like, no, I'm burning everything that's not pure. And then I don't actually use the word grace. I use favor, but it's about purity. It really is. It's also in Hawaiian, they have the word shishi for going potty. It's a word for urine, but urine is also the idea of getting rid of everything that the body doesn't need that's impure. So ta is completion, it's covenant. It's the X marks the spot. You can start at olive and go to ta if you're thinking about tilling a row in your garden or something. You start at one place, which is your plan, your olive, and then you just make that till go straight until you get to the ta at the end of your row, right? It's just, you're going somewhere. That's your plan. It's your completion of your plan. It's also,
He's actually got a skull and crossbones there and some flowers, like, you know, it's completion as in a life.
yeah, that's what I just said. I just said that. Yeah, it's
I'm just
also indicated in the word death. Interesting, the word truth is Aleph Mem Ta. If you can point those out, Bonnie, it's kind of like the beginning, the middle,
Aleph,
end,
Mem,
and then you're,
Tau. Yeah.
and so that's the word for truth. But then the Mem and the Ta together are involved in death. How do we spell death? Do you remember, Bonnie? Is it?
No.
I think it's at least, I think it's Mem Yod Ta, but and is meat. It may be Mem Yod Ta for meat. That's how it sounds in Hebrew. But it's interesting. I recall when I was in France as a young lady, that there would be like trains, and there would be these signal signs for warning, like warning of death, and that was mort. So you still have the mem and the ta. You get the m and the t sound there. And it's mort, like mortal, right? So we have meat for death. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. The reason I know I think that's what it is because
I thought it was moat. Moat.
it might be moat. So that's like a wild card too, with the wa letter. But I looked up meat because it was on somebody's lapel for I don't know, it's one of these American like military companies. I can't think what it's called right now. It's probably, for some reason it's escaping me, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, this person was implicated in possibly an FF, if you know what the FF stands for, in Boston with the runners. And he had is it MIT? That's what I'm thinking of. MIT. So meat, that's where it is. He had it on his lapel and could have involved some crisis actors and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's what MIT stands for, meat. If you're just looking at it in a Hebrew perspective, it was death, and that's what was involved in that story. So anyway, we can get that was a rabbit trail. We'll get back to our
Oh dear. Oh well, the next slide we've got is the oh dear.
Yeah, what's our next?
It's from
Reel us back in with our little fish and Dottie there. So here we see Yeshua up at the top, the Aramaic. We're in the message.
hang on. Have I got? Can you see my mouse?
Yep, I see your mouse.
Yep, cool.
I love that line. I see you from what is that from?
Avatar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What would I do without you? Avatar. Yeah, I love that. I see you. It's like I understand you. Anyway, there is the Yeshua, and that is that Yeshua? Yeah, it's Yeshua. I've already got it written out there in my pen. Yeshua. So that's how the vowel points are giving us there. Yeshua.
Hang on.
And
we can do this. We can do this. Hang on.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that is much better.
Nice and big. There you go.
Lovely.
So you can see the vowel points.
Yeah. And you can see how the Aramaic there is like the cursive letters we were just looking at. And in the Greek there, we have Isus. Right, just below there, it's giving us the Greek, Isus. That'll look familiar to people that have seen his name in Greek. That's what the letters look like. And then if we go a little bit lower than there, Bonnie, and we are at Matthew 1, verse 22, I believe. So here's the Marya. This is what William Sanford was talking about. He thinks it's a poor translation, a poor use of Yahuwah's name. It means Master Yah. So they've got a Yod Aleph. We would know in Hebrew it's Yod Hey for Yah, which is the shortened version of Yahuwah. However, in the Greek here, we have Kyrios, and this is the name of Yahuwah in Greek, Kyrios. Okay, spoken of by Kyrios.
Interesting that it's actually, I'm thinking of curious, or curio, which is like, some sort of a prize or fancy or something, a curio.
Oh,
The
yeah,
C.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's
normally we see it with a Y here instead of a U.
do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Curious.
I
Yep.
think, yeah. So one of the screens that we're going to share is from the Septuagint, which is the Tanakh only. And then we have before we go on to that, so we have the word aloha here. And so this is the word that we have had in English as God, but curiously enough, there we go, curiously enough, see, there's Yahuwah showing up in the word curious. God is the Babylonian deity of fortune when we go look it up in Strong's Concordance in 1408 and 1409. So that's why we prefer to go back to the original as far as we can get back, or as close as we can get back to the pure language, which generally is Hebrew. And from William Sanford's perspective, we're talking Paleo Hebrew, which is how Yahuwah's name is preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance. But here in the Aramaic, it is Alaha. He's got aloha written out here, but those vowel points are Alaha. And you can see just above there, it says Alahan, which the noon there bringing in a suffix, Alahan, for our aloha, Alahan. And then below there in the Greek, we have Theos, just off to, there we go, Theos. This is the Greek word for God, or the Greek word for the Hebrew is Elohim, is Theos. And so when we go and look at the Septuagint here, we're going to look at chapter 2 of Genesis, verse 4. So here's the Septuagint we'll be looking at with Apocrypha, and it's Greek and English. So this version includes the Apocrypha. Here's some notes I have on it, and it tells us that Kyrios is found in the Besor, which is the New Testament, the Brit Hadashah, the Besor, that means the good news, the Tob news. Kyrios, which is the name Yahuwah, it's found 647 times in the New Testament. Okay. And then Theos, which is the same as Elohim, or AKA God, is found 1,036 times in the New Testament in the Greek. Okay. This particular Septuagint, this does not go all the way to the book of Revelation. So this is a note I took from somewhere else, but I wrote it down there. Theos, for instance, in Colossians, it's going to occur 22 times, and so on. So you can go back and you can look at this and look through my chicken notes here. But hey, 99 times in Revelation is Theos in the Greek.
Wow.
Yeah. Like if you're hardcore Greek, then you might want to know that it's not God, it's Theos. Okay, so you could at least get back to the Greek. And this is a nice translation because I can sort of do a Rosetta Stone here. I do have an English translation right here, verse by verse at my fingertips. So and then of course we have Bible Hub. We can go and look at an interlinear for the New Testament. It's not, I don't know that we have one for the Greek, but this is how I find out in any language, what is Yahuwah's name and what is Elohim, because the first place that Yahuwah shows up is in chapter 2, verse 4. And here you see it is Kyrios Theos, Kyrios o Theos. That is what Yahuwah's name I can expect to find that anywhere in the Greek where it says Kyrios, it means Yahuwah's name. And where it says Theos, it means Elohim. So
So
I think
yeah, and we
that's-
know that we've got, like, in our Strongs, we've got a G in front of our numbers rather than a H for the Hebrew. So the Greek has a G in front, just for those who are new. Yeah.
Yeah, you should be
Uh,
able to go over to Bible Hub and go search out this curious word just by the G letter, the G number.
Yeah.
And then there's also on this in my notes there is your G2316 for Theos.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can move on from
And this
there.
is what Darla's Bibles look like after a period of
by the
time.
way. It's really
We're always going, Darla, what did you have? What did you have on that?
but
They're
you
like
know,
color-
the thing is,
They're like coloring books too. I mean,
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But, you know,
I
are they supposed to be sacred? And, you know, you don't write on them. I mean, that's what
I
some
used to be the same
people
way. I
would
used to do
say.
that too. And
Yeah.
then Steve gets upset with me for coloring in the Bible.
well,
There are
you know,
different
I'll
schools
tell
of
you what,
thought.
absolutely,
He can
absolutely.
just remember everything. I can't, I have to highlight stuff, make notes.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to like move into it. And this one, I
Me
haven't
too.
written much in the Septuagint, but I tell you what, I sure know where to find Yahuwah's name. And what was that name again? I sure know where to find that.
Yes, you do.
All right,
Oh,
Bonnie.
okay. So Robert's asking, you know, a couple of things there about, Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole. Yes. Robert's asking, so does Yeshua really mean Jesus? I still don't know why his name would have to be changed. Doesn't matter what language I go to, I still hope to be called Robert. Great point.
Yeah. Well, you know, there is a place in the King James where they didn't get their little translation quite right, and it says Joshua. They meant Jesus there, but it says Joshua. So Joshua is very close, but of course there's no J in Hebrew. And yeah, we have the Aramaic, which at least it has Yeshua, but it's interesting that they lost the who part, ahu. So it's not Yahushua, but it's Yeshua. So what else do we have there, Bonnie?
Just the Dutillet now,
Yeah,
and
so
then
let's look at
we're
the
done.
detail, 'cause I think that's the next thing up in this, just right out of this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, you know, you've got the New Testament and you've got the Greek and you've got the Latin and you've got the Septuagint and the Vulgate. Now we have access to a Hebrew, something in Hebrew. We found, didn't we? We found the Hebrew in the background in Bible Hub recently in the New Testament, so we can check things there. But where did they get that from? This one, written by James Scott Trim, is an original Matthew. And if I get we want to have a bit of a read about the introduction.
Sure.
Okay, so Besorot Mati, the good news according to Matthew, from an old Hebrew manuscript, the Dutillet text, translated out of the original tongue and with the former translations diligently compared and revised, by James Scott Trim. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that brings good news, that publishes shalom, that brings good news of good, that publishes salvation, that says to Zion, your Elohim reigns. And that's a quote from Isaiah 52:7. So, and that was first published in 1990. And it talks here about the Dutillet version of Matthew is taken from a Hebrew manuscript of Matthew, which was confiscated from Jews in Rome in 1553. On August 12, 1553, at the petition of Pietro, later to become Pope Paul IV, Cardinal Carafa, the Inquisitor General, Pope Julius III, signed a decree banning the Talmud in Rome. The decree was executed on September the 9th, Rosh Hashanah, and anything that looked like the Talmud, that is, anything written in Hebrew characters, was confiscated as the Jewish homes and synagogues were ravished. Jean Dutillet, Bishop of Brieux, France, was visiting Rome at the time. Dutillet was astounded to take notice of a Hebrew manuscript of Matthew among the other Hebrew manuscripts. Dutillot acquired the manuscript and returned to France, depositing it in the Bibliothèque Nationale, Paris. It remains there to this day as Hebrew manuscript number 132.
Wow.
Yeah. While most scholars have ignored the Dutillot Hebrew version of Matthew, two scholars, Hugh Schoenfield and George Howard, have stated their opinion that the Hebrew text underlies our current Greek text. Schoenfield writes, certain linguistic proofs seem to show that the Hebrew text, the Dutillot, underlies the Greek and that certain renderings in the Greek may be due to a misread Hebrew original. And that was from a document called An Old Hebrew Text of St. Matthew's Gospel, and that was from 1927. So, that's from the introduction there, and best $30 I've ever spent. I love it. I love it. So
Awesome.
again, looking at, did you want to add any more to that?
No, let's look at,
No?
let's start going through what we were going through this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question
looking
was,
at-
who
Yep.
was name in this translation? Or was it, was it something else? Was it Aloha? Was it Elohim? What was there? And so as you can see here that it has been translated by James Scott Trim to Yahuwah, but what is over on the Hebrew side? Because the Hebrew's there.
So verse 22 and verse 24. So verse 22.
And so one of the footnotes that you or one of the,
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it, hey?
yeah, I actually wrote it all down too.
Yeah. It's just fascinating though. It's just like, why? Why did they do that? What has been hidden and why? Here it is. We have more pictures.
Perfect.
Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
I'll read it. It says, so we know from both the Tosefta and Talmuds, ancient Jewish writings, that certain New Testament manuscripts contain the name of Yahuwah in their text. So we've got T Shabbat, I think that's going to be Shabbat, T Shabbat 13:5, B Shabbat 116a, and J Shabbat 15c. Dutillot contains the sacred name in its text in quotations from the Tanakh in Matthew 4, verses 4 and 7 and 10, 5 verse 33, 21 verse 9 and 42, and 22 verse 37 and 44. In introductions to Tanakh notes, chapter 1 verse 22 and 2 verse 15, and in the phrase the Malach of Yahuwah in chapter 1 verse 24, 2 verse 13 and 19, and 28 verse 2. In Dutillot, the sacred name takes the form of we thought this said 3 yods, but it didn't. We think it means the yods encircled, but we also didn't find them encircled. In Munster, it appears written out as YHWH. There's a Munster's Hebrew as well. There is a close agreement between Dutillot and Shem Tov. There's a Shem Tov Hebrew. As to where, Bonnie, are you able to forward that? As to where the place the sacred name, which will be covered in the chapter on Shem Tov. This also agrees closely with the use of Maryah in Aramaic Matthew, which will be covered in another chapter. So there's some information here that they include, which is awesome.
Yeah. I couldn't find any more mentions of in this particular book. He may be talking about a different book.
Or which will be covered in the chapter on Shem Tov. Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't find anything about Shem Tov either?
Oh, there will be. Yeah, there was lots of comparisons because the Shem Tov. What do we say about that? It's not reliable, is what I'll say.
Yeah. So what we've nailed it down to is that where the yods here appear, 2 yods there, that's where Yahuwah's name goes. I know a man who studies the Greek, and he found some, and we didn't talk about this at all, it just came up. I may have something on the website about it at 12tribeshebrei.org. Where Yao Khan and Robertson has shared about original Greek he says that his name is encoded, and there's a line over the Greek where the Hebrew word goes, the Hebrew name. So that is something that could be reviewed as well. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, Bonnie, but somewhere it might say something about the Greek. We might be able to just find it and stick it in the description.
Yeah.
If you see anything there that stands out about Greek, that would probably be where it's at.
Go away.
If we just see anything about the Greek, if we don't, I might be able to find it and stick it in the over in the description. Yeah, nothing's standing out
Can we-
terribly to me.
We don't have a search. Well, yep. Never
It's
mind.
going
And
to
we
be
need
it's going to be on the name of Yahuwah, as opposed to maybe under codes. It'll be under the name of Yahuwah. Restoring the name of Elohim. It might be there, Bonnie.
might be
Restoring the name.
there. That's right. Doesn't hurt for people to get a look at our website.
Yeah. And I don't spend a lot of time over there because I just I'm pretty busy. But I think it may be here at some point. There's a lot of great stuff here to go through. If we don't see anything Greek, I don't know, I might have to go find it, but it's something I studied a long time ago, and I shared Yao Kanan's work. And if not there, I think we could probably search it on my Facebook. It's probably, maybe it'll be under Facebook, but I'll put some effort into finding that. But he did a lot of research in the Greek. The way we study the Hebrew, Yao Kanan Roberts has studied the Greek, and the original Greek, not necessarily the Greek we've had access to, more in line with like the Hebrew in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There is a very ancient Greek that he believes Yahuwah and Yahushua's names are encoded because it was illegal to say their names. So that's what he's found, and that would probably be a Rosetta Stone kind of thing where he's comparing the Hebrew with the original Greek, and he's realized where the names were. There's a line over their names, a line over it.
Okay, Tessa has sent me another picture. Don't we just love this? We can share. We're just saying, how do we ever live without our phones? Because you can take a picture of anything, put it in Discord, and then bang, throw it up on a screen.
Exactly. Oh, maybe she can help me.
Oh dear.
I don't know if you guys are friends with Yao Kanan Roberts, but he's on Facebook, and he's the guy. He's the guy that knows about
I found James Trim too, the author of the Jew Tillet. He's over on Facebook as well. Got great stuff in there. Whoa, wonderful stuff.
So
here's what Tessa has found. Are you still on here, Tessa? Do you want to explain? Explain yourself. No, she's not here. Portion of the Aleppo Codex, a manuscript of the Hebrew Bible written in the Hebrew language in the 10th century CE in the shrine of the book. In the shrine of the book. Shrine is capital S and book is capital B. Don't know. Israel Museum, Jerusalem. So the Aleppo Codex. That looks like Hebrew to me.
Okay, yes, it is. And we can see Yahuwah's name is right in the middle there, Bonnie, the middle line, right?
Yes, there.
And we can see El following that word to the left, which is Elohim, Aloha. And right beyond that, we see Yehoshua. Yeah. Which is saying Yahuwah El Yehoshua. That is a deity phrase there. That is a deity title for Yahushua. And then Yahuwah is also on the far right of that line. And all the way to the right. There you go. Yeah, so it is fun to learn Yahuwah's language. It is so fun and so wonderful. And I can see above, Bonnie, the word in the middle, or not towards the middle, in the first line, and it's also in the bottom line. We know Mashiach is Mem Shin Yod Chet. That looks like Meshach, Mem Shin Chet. which is still going to have to do with anointing, right? Anointing. And the next word over looks like it's servant, Ebed. There you go. So it is an honor to learn Yahuwah's language and to be able to pick some things out. And if we can't pick it out, we can still go discern what it says, because we can, once we can identify the letters. It's a little harder with something that's not like a typeset font, but this is pretty clear as languages go. And it's beautiful to be able to figure out what it says. We could literally take every letter over to Google Translate, throw it in, and know exactly what this is saying.
Yeah, you just need to know how to navigate your keyboard from English over to Hebrew. That's the fun bit.
It's just a tiny little technical thing.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we at now?
We've gone through all our slides.
Did we do all the do till it ones? And yeah,
Yep.
okay. So
Yep,
then
we did. We just, that
Perfect.
was just our little sort of discussion this morning, and we thought we'd come and share it with you all, and hopefully you think it's valuable.
yeah.
Look, Darla is just like a brains trust when it comes to, teaching the Hebrew, and we just love learning under Darla. And then there's the calendar. We won't go there right now, but
We do want to say that we are very close. We are approaching Passover with just a very, it's fast. It's coming fast, hard and fast down on us. Passover is almost here. But if you're keeping the feast of Yahuwah, it's in Leviticus 23 that this is a feast forever. And we're not only remembering the great escape from Egypt, from the slave masters, the Egyptians over the Hebrews there at this time of Passover. And by the way, some people may be looking for a rescue anytime, because sometimes it feels like we really need a rescue breathing down our neck, because there's other stuff breathing down our neck. But Passover is a great time to be looking for a rescue, and it's right here at us. And then that's a remembrance. We're called to remember that day. So I'm encouraging y'all to get involved in Passover. Read the word, Leviticus 23, start there. Start in Exodus 12. It's a great place. Just review the plagues that were brought out, not only against the Pharaoh, but against the deities. The deities were attacked by Yahuwah. They were put in their place by Yahuwah at this time. And it was the firstborn of the Hebrews that were saved when all the firstborn died. And that was the last straw for the Pharaoh. That was when he decided to humble himself and allow the people to go. And so they left Egypt. Our family watches the 10 Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille every year. My kids are probably somewhat sick of it, but we watch it every year. And it's still one of the best movies. In terms of just showing those plagues and the stature, the status, the stance is the word I'm looking up with the Pharaoh, the stance of the Pharaoh, and Yahuwah was just, let my people go. And Moses is such a great character. And there's a bit of a love story in there to just kind of draw you into the story, but it's a beautiful movie. It lasts like 4 hours, and I just encourage y'all to get involved in Passover. It's coming up. It's going to be next Tuesday night. Is today Tuesday, Bonnie? I think it is. And Bonnie's in Australia, so I'm asking her if it's Tuesday. So she's going to tell me it is, because she knows what time it is over here for us.
Got my microphone. It's Tuesday in the US. Yes.
Yes. Tuesday in the US, and it's Wednesday because we have Man's Dateline. Thank you, man.
We have Man's Dateline between us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Between Australia, Hawaii, for instance, and the rest of the mainland, there is Man's Dateline. But other than that, it's all the same day. It's something to wrap our heads around with the Roman calendar that we inherited. But
1956. Oh, I'm just going to, for those that don't know, here's the movie. 1956. Wow.
yeah,
Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner.
wow. My mom was 11 when that movie came out.
Yeah. Anyway.
In theaters. Wow, I would love to see it. They've had a
Yeah.
couple of
And
Jesus movies lately.
there's also the Prince of Egypt cartoon. That's not too bad.
Yeah. I just love it. I love the Ten Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille, and just so much. Such a beautiful movie. All of those extras they had to put into that movie. Wow. Just stunning. And the sets and the costumes. I think Anthony and Cleopatra movie is of that same genre, if not the same producer, but I don't want to overspeak that because I don't know. But yeah, just if you can read Exodus 12, read Leviticus 23. These are Feast of Yahuwah that he calls us to keep, and get involved. Bind yourself to the Creator. That Tez always says.
Okay.
Bind yourself closely to Yahuwah.
Tez has always got some great finds, and she's just sent me something in the live chat, the Passover movie. Okay, so how do I find that? Who's in that? You might need to find me a link, Tessa.
Tez is recommending the Passover movie. So yeah.
Yeah.
If you have young kids, Ten Commandments is a great way to go. I just use my kids for an excuse to watch it. My youngest is 17, and so, she will be by Passover anyway. And so I've got now my first grandchild's here, so I'm just going to use my children as an excuse to watch it because I love it so much.
There's one that's just called Passover, 1995. I don't know that. Anyway, we'll have to work out what that is. There's another one with 2 words, pass space over, but from 2018. Anyway, we need to find Tessa. We need a link in the chat, please.
Yeah, and if not, you can get it to us. We'll put it in the
comments.
Yeah, seize the day. We're in a brand new year, and you can contribute. You can participate with Yahuwah with this it's memorial, but it's also a rehearsal. So what are we rehearsing for? Let's rehearse. And we got so carried away with the Exodus, but there's going to be a greater Exodus according to Jeremiah 16, and a few other places too. But we also have to remember this is also the memorial of our Mashiach Yahushua, who died for us, right? He bore our sins so that we could be returned and restored to a relationship with Yahuwah. And so we have those memorials, and we also have rehearsals. It's still called a rehearsal in the Hebrew. It's a mikra, which also includes the word to cry or to call out. So bind yourself to those events with Yahuwah. It's also, we began the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days. We'll be around here. We'll be starting our cleaning of all the leaven, right? That's happening right after our next Shabbat, which is tomorrow. We will begin cleaning the leaven out of our home, and it's very much like spring cleaning, right? And so that is what will be taking up the biggest portion of our week, is just cleaning the leaven out of our home and getting ready for that Feast of Unleavened Bread. And I just ask you to bind yourself to Yahuwah through the Feast of Unleavened Bread, through Passover. We have the Feast of First Fruits, and they're all in Leviticus 23. And so
I've just pulled it up. I'm thinking, look, I'll wait for a break and then I'll tell you I found it.
Yeah, there it is. The appointed times of Yahuwah. You need to know these are not the appointed times of the Jews. They are the appointed times of Yahuwah. Judah is one tribe. Yehuda specifically is one tribe, and there's at least 11 others. If you break them down a few, you can get 12 or even 13 others. The Passover to Yahuwah. Yeah. And then we start, it says in this particular scripture, it says the Feast of Unleavened Bread starts on the 15th, but there is another scripture in another book which says we start on the evening of the 14th. So in other words, when we're sitting there for Passover on the evening of the 14th, after the sun is set, and we are eating unleavened bread from that point forward. So and it is a day to take off from work, and we have this feast for 7 days. And that's what we know. We know what the word says. Just read the word and do the word. And we'll begin a certain special count to a summer feast, beginning with day 16, which will be next Thursday. That count is actually going to end up being about 102 days. There's a lot to learn on that, when the Feast of Weeks really is. But we do have a couple of videos on the calendar on our channel. You can go study those there. Also, World's Last Chance has videos on when is Feast of Weeks. There's a great place. And also creationcalendar.com. Okay, Bonnie, did you want to play that song, or did you?
No, it's okay. We'll do it. We'll do it when we do our Shabbat study.
Yeah, we can do our Shabbat study tomorrow. So y'all stay tuned and come
Yeah.
join us, please, for our study tomorrow. And we thank y'all for being with us and letting us share our heart, which is to share the heart of Yahuwah, his name and his love for us.